Just outside Xi'an lies one of the world's greatest archaeological discoveries, the Terracotta Army. Created more than 2,000 years ago to protect China's first emperor in the afterlife. Here in the workshop, we can see how these remarkable figures are recreated using traditional techniques before we head into the museum to see the original warriors themselves. The contrast between these modern reproductions and the real army, which has survived for over 2,000 years, is remarkable. And now we arrive at the Emperor Qin Shi Huang's Mausoleum Site Museum. The scale of what lies here is difficult to comprehend. In 1974, local farmers digging a well near Xi'an made an extraordinary discovery. Fragments of terracotta figures began appearing from the ground. Archaeologists soon realized that they had uncovered something far more significant than a collection of ancient statues. Beneath the fields was a vast underground army, created more than 2,000 years ago to protect the tomb of Qin Shi Huang, the ruler who would become China's first emperor. What began as a chance discovery would become one of the world's most famous archaeological sites. Qin Shi Huang was born in 259 BC, during a turbulent period when China was divided between rival states. Known as the Warring States period, this was an age of warfare, alliances, and political intrigue. Qin eventually emerged victorious. In 221 BC, he conquered the remaining rival kingdoms and united much of China under a single imperial government. Rather than continuing the old system of separate kingdoms, he created a centralized empire. He standardized weights and measures, currency and writing, and established administrative systems that would influence China for centuries. But Qin Shi Huang was also obsessed with his own mortality, and even while ruling the living world, he was preparing for the next. The Terracotta Army formed part of this enormous funerary complex. It was intended to accompany and protect the emperor in the afterlife, recreating the military power that had helped him conquer China. Thousands of warriors were produced. There were infantrymen, archers, cavalrymen, officers and generals, along with horses and wooden chariots. And remarkably, the warriors were not identical. Their faces, hairstyles, clothing and equipment display an astonishing variety. Some appear young, others older. Some have moustaches or beards, while their hairstyles and armour indicate different military roles. The individuality of these figures gives us a fascinating glimpse into the appearance and organisation of Qin China's military. The largest and most spectacular of the excavation areas is Pit 1. This enormous rectangular pit contains the remains of thousands of terracotta warriors and horses arranged in military formation. Rows of infantry once stood beneath a vast timber roof facing towards the east. The army was organised with remarkable precision. Infantrymen formed the main ranks, while cavalry and chariot units were positioned strategically within the formation. When the figures were originally created, they were brightly painted. Their weapons were also real. Archaeologists have discovered bronze swords, spears, arrows, crossbow components, and other weapons among the remains. Many of these weapons were remarkably well preserved, partly because of the advanced technology used by Qin craftsmen. Standing above Pit 1, it becomes easier to appreciate just how enormous this project must have been. The construction of the mausoleum complex is believed to have involved vast numbers of workers over many years. The figures themselves were produced using moulds and standardized components, but craftsmen added individual details to create variation between them. It was an extraordinary combination of mass production and craftsmanship, and there is something particularly striking about seeing the warriors standing in formation. Although they were created as part of an imperial burial project, they also preserve an extraordinary snapshot of an ancient army. More than 2,000 years later, we can still see the soldiers, officers and horses positioned as if waiting for their final orders. Pit 1 is only part of the story. Other pits have revealed different formations and specialised units. Pit 2 contains a more complex military arrangement, including archers, cavalry and chariots. Pit 3 is much smaller and is thought to represent a command headquarters. Together, these discoveries suggest that the Terracotta Army was carefully designed to reproduce an organised military force, rather than simply being a collection of statues. And the soldiers were only one part of the enormous mausoleum complex. The Terracotta Army was created to protect the emperor's tomb, but the main burial mound lies some distance away. The entire mausoleum complex covers a huge area. Ancient historical accounts describe an extraordinary underground world containing palaces, treasures and representations of the empire that Qin Shi Huang had created. Some of these accounts may contain exaggerations, but archaeological discoveries have demonstrated that the mausoleum was certainly built on an immense scale. The emperor's tomb itself remains unopened. So, even after decades of archaeological excavation, one of the greatest mysteries of the site still lies beneath the ground. Qin Shi Huang died in 210 BC, only a few years after becoming emperor. His dynasty would collapse soon afterwards. Yet the political transformation he created proved much more enduring. The idea of a unified Chinese empire survived, and later dynasties adopted and developed many of the systems established during the Qin period. The Terracotta Army therefore represents more than an extraordinary archaeological discovery. It is a physical reminder of the ambition, power and enormous human effort behind the creation of China's first unified empire. Today, the warriors stand silently beneath the museum roofs, watched by millions of visitors from around the world. But more than 2,000 years ago, they were created for an entirely different purpose. They were an army for eternity, soldiers intended to protect the emperor in the afterlife. And although Qin Shi Huang's empire lasted only a few decades, his legacy has survived for more than 2,000 years. The Terracotta Army remains one of the most remarkable windows into the ancient world, and one of the greatest archaeological discoveries ever made.